You lost a daughter, didn't you? How do you live with that? You don't?
The producer called me and he pitched it in like one sentence. And he said the film was like, You Were Never Really Here, but a woman in Belfast, which was appealing. Or We Were Never Really Here, so it was called the Lynn Ramsey film. And but then when I met Colum, I think he had a lot of friends who went to medical school and then went on to be anaesthetist and work in the medical profession. And he told me this, I don't know if it's a problem or just a trait, where people who are specifically anesthetists, and you know, it's such a precise profession, you know, it's all about like balancing and having, you know, absolute precision with your medication and what you administer. That I found that the fact that people would actually self-medicate and then that gets out of hand is quite an interesting juxtaposition to the skills that you need to be good at your job, you know?
And so taking on such a precise kind of demographic of someone of this kind of one portion of a profession that this has actually happened to it, and it actually happens to on a daily basis. No, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's that common, but it's something that does actually happen. Did that make you feel that you had to get just the right balance that they do in their business, in their job, when it came to portraying the authenticity of your character in the film?
The thing is, the character of Jo, it's happened to her because, I mean, she's in a position where by her self-medicating and her obsession with her career and her job has gotten out of hand, therefore she's been laid off. But where we see her in the film is where she's dealing with this kind of prison in her body of grief. And so her self-medicating is to keep her like level, you know, like when junkies take a tiny bit of heroin just to keep going every day. It's like she's maintaining and she's just existing. So she's self-medicating just to survive. And so it was about that balance of, for me as an actor, it was like the fact that she's trying to keep a level of numbness to hold down pain.
You've met Lucy?
I have, yes. I'm afraid she's taken a turn for the worse. And what do you want from me?
We need someone who's discreet.
I'm glad that you mentioned the theme of grief there, because grief is just as important, if not a more important role in the film, especially because it's a common, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but it's a common thread between two of the characters in the film. Was that something that you really worked on with the matriarch of the mafia, if we can call her that, in terms of creating this kind of chemistry that you had between you that kind of meant that you were opposing, but at the same time you shared a lot in common?
Yeah, I think Orla and I discussed that relationship quite a lot, because Orla and I had actually just worked together on something else that was shot in Georgia. It was like a David Lynch produced this film, hasn't come out yet. And so we had a working relationship before. And so we were able to kind of, you know, it's interesting when you work with actors repeatedly. I feel that then you have this kind of, you know, you have a sort of easy actor.
Or something like that, no, yeah?
Sorry?
Like an instant shorthand or something. It comes easy.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for, shorthand. And so we were able to have that kind of closeness to converse about it. And I think, I think that's quite a strength in the film.
And what about, obviously, I know that Colum in a previous short film, he'd done a short film about a couple who took in this stranger who was a young girl who they had no idea where she'd come from. Was there any reason why Colum, did he speak to you about it, specifically why he dealt with that subject of taking in someone that they had no idea about?
No. No. I mean, I guess what she does, what the character Anya does, the young girl, is that she kind of interrupts Jo's just kind of treading water existence, you know, because she's suddenly, you know, she's a complete interruption. She's like very intrusive, and because she is a reminder physically of the past that Jo, I'm trying not to say too much, you know, of Jo's dead daughter. I mean, it's complete. It's like she can't avoid her past anymore, and what the grief that she's trying to just sink and bury, she can't avoid that anymore.
We can't afford to mess with these people, Joe. They're dangerous.
Who's that?
Better find her.
Something I want to talk about, but I don't want to get into too much detail either, is that we do see some very graphic kind of clinical moments in the film because of kind of the job that you have been involved in. Did you have to do a lot of research in that? I imagine Colin did a fair bit of research. I know you said that he had some friends and acquaintances that worked or they studied at medical school. No, it does get pretty graphic. That must have been quite complicated and intense because there's kind of almost like operations going on there that feel very, very realistic.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting because I'm surprised no one's really commented on the fact that we're all wearing masks because
that was actually one of my first questions I had up here. Yeah.
Okay, because it's first of all, he did have really great advisors, like people directly from hospitals, and then and a friend of his, I think. And he was I wondered why he was being so pedantic about the precision by which we, you know, because there is such a, as an actor, I'm very particular about accents and dialects and languages and things like that being very authentic. And from his point of view, and I thought this was really clever of him, was that you can spot somebody who's acting to be a professional medic a mile away, you know? So he was very adamant that all those hospital surgery type scenes were very true because he has so many friends who are, you know, in that area, and he knows that they would spot it as being a fraud. And then I remember at the time, because those scenes were very, we would just shoot them over and over and over in real time, and he would just use a roaming camera to pick up pieces. And it was quite exhausting because I was actually really sick through the whole shoot. I had pneumonia, and I mean, it's funny. So I was very sick through the whole, it was like 3-4 weeks. And I had a mask on the whole time. And I was going, how do people live with these masks? How?
You found out the easy way. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything. And like, and at the time, part of the medical training team that were observing us, they were teaching me about how to sanitize, because there is a thing of when you're sanitized and ready for for theater. And so then literally 3 weeks later, I mean, it was about that. It was like a month, 3 weeks that we finished in February. 3 weeks later, we were all sanitizing our groceries and learning about how to sanitize, you know, and not touch anything. And when you were no longer, you know, safe or clean, and constantly for a year and a half later, we're still wearing masks. So I find that quite funny.
Yeah, it must have been almost like second nature for you when it actually kicked in, now, and we all had to.
Well, it was. I mean, it's funny how we adapt, because I remember thinking, "Gosh, masks are exhausting," and here we are.
I mean, talking of masks, I mean, that was something I wanted to ask you about, but not just because of coronavirus that kind of came shortly afterwards, but the fact that acting with a mask on changes the way you act completely, because all you've got to act with is this part of your face now. So you must have approached those scenes from a completely different angle, no?
Kind of. I mean, I think I'm quite lucky in that way, because I've always much preferred a kind of quiet, internalized way of, I mean, I'm not like a big screamy kind of actor. And I adore other performances from actors that are very silent. I mean, I'm always drawn to a film that has no dialogue almost. And so I actually found that quite a luxury. And I think the way that they were shot, those actually are possibly the more tense scenes, you know, because it's built that way. So it didn't, as long as I just had to trust with Colum that what he needed was being conveyed, you know. But
what about in terms of, I mean, it deals with kind of the black market that's going on. Did Colum and did you do much research on that to really kind of realize how to approach it? And also, that's another subject that you got to be careful with, because you're dealing with something that is actually going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was directly for the themes that were drawn upon for Black medicine. It was specifically about historically Northern Ireland from the Troubles, you know, IRA versus, so when people were, so that was the thing that was happening a lot during the Troubles.
Brilliant. So I mean, just to finish off sorry, no, just to finish off, I don't want to keep you any longer, but just to finish off then, I know that you have written, directed, and you're also starring with Cosmo Jarvis in a film that you've done called It Is In Us All, no? I just recently watched Cosmo in, what's the name of the film? Calm with Horses. It's fantastic in that film. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about what this film's about and what we can expect to see with this one?
It's quite different to Calm with Horses, but it weirdly is also set in Ireland, but it's about a man who he's coming back to sign off on a house that he's inherited, and there's a head-on collision with a boy, and it kind of thrusts him into this sort of purgatory underworld. But and I'd say it's like a Black folklore essence, but and I kept saying that it was almost, it's like grounded in mud sci-fi without aliens.
Brilliant. Well, sorry, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck with the film when it comes out later on this week, and fingers crossed maybe I get to speak to you about this grounded in mud sci-fi movie sometime in the future.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much, Antonia. All the best. Take care then.
Don't lie to me. This is your fault.